Hi, and welcome to Chart Your Fi. I'm your host, Chris Elder. This podcast is about financial independence and your path to gaining financial independence. Please strap in for the sound of freedom. Hi, and welcome to Chart Your Fi. Again, I'm your host, Chris Elder, and thank you again for listening to me today. Today, we're going to cover something that I always get asked, and that's should I? Should I purchase my house now? Should I invest? Should I go in even though the market is a little bit more on the selling side being so high, right? A lot of people get kind of nervous whenever it comes into going into the market. And one thing that I always say is trying to time the market is not a winning strategy. I recommend sticking with a known performer no matter if it's a property or mutual fund or something like that, you know? That means if the market dips down, do not pull out of your investment. Rather, resist that FOMO, the fear of missing out, and hang on to it. This is a call to action for some of you that may not be fully committed into the investment. Fully commit, take action. Instead of living your life dreaming, take that action, invest. So, like I said earlier, I've been asked numerous times, mainly about whether they should buy property. That's mainly what I get asked about. A lot of the guys that I work with and interact with, if they've been around me for a little bit, they've found out that I've owned some property, so they ask me a lot of questions. So I mainly get um, the whole entire like, well, I got this house. Can you take a look at it? And I'll look at it and I'll give them my honest opinion. And if you ask me, I'll take take a gander at it and I'll be like, all right, if this is me, this is what I would do. But honestly, it's gotta be from you. I'm not a licensed realtor. I'm not a licensed broker or anything like that. The advice that I give, just what would Chris do? I'm by no means a financial um, guru, but there's been a couple things I've done right, and mainly through trial and error. So I have my goal, right? I was talking about navigation charts in one of the first podcasts I was on, and that is so important. Real estate is not my goal. I have a couple things in real estate. Um, it's not like grandeur like some of these guys that have massive amounts of rentals. I, One day I hope to have something like that, but real estate is not my goal. It's actually a means to an end to achieve my goal. My goal is to create generational wealth for my family. Whether that is in monetary means or educational, whatever, spiritual wealth. There's a bunch of different types of wealths out there. But I want to create a generational wealth that my family um, before me did not experience, and that's something that is just a goal of mine, right? So real estate is not my goal. It's just a means of making my goal achievable. Um, if I would have known my goal, I probably would have been a little bit more successful at achieving it at an early age. So just another spin on my navigation charts. My usual response, like I said earlier, don't wait for that bubble to pop. You know, trying to find and measure when the market's going to dip down. That's something a little bit more complicated and I could get into. But I know that even if you did buy, like let's say right before the burst happened, it's okay. Um, Things happen, and you can get over that. Um, and that's from personal experience. I mean, look at 2008. Globally, many people were affected by the crash, and people's accounts and stocks plummeted. You know, but today it's well beyond where it was at in 2008. All those people that held on, they're doing all right, and I'm one of them. Um, but do you know who really lost out? The people that tried to time the market, the people that pulled their money out as soon as it was dipping, and then they didn't get their money back in time, right? So, um, not all of us could be Warren Buffett, and even Warren Buffett's own advice is stick with the S&P 500. So, with that in mind, do what Warren Buffett would do. Stick with the S&P 500. Man, I wish I would have known what I known today back in 2008, and that would have definitely been pretty awesome. Hey, Chris, back in 2008, invest every cent that you have in a little thing called Tesla and Google and Amazon. Invest heavily in Apple. So that would have been pretty awesome. But I wasn't very good with money for a reason, and that was because I wasn't mature enough. And even if I knew stuff I knew now back then, I probably still would have not listened because I just was not mature enough. Um, Instead, 2008, we bought a house just right before the bubble burst. So that was very fun. Just like that 300,000 house that we bought just plummeted down to 100,000. 200,000 in net worth just gone. A snap of the finger. And man, we should have never even qualified for that loan. Which cracks me up because isn't that like one of the major contributing factors of 2008 was all the fabulous loans that were given out. So yeah, Sarah was working at a vet, uh, part time at a vet, and I was going to college to become certified in the medical field. And then I was E4 in the Navy, making a whole whopping what was it like $2,800 a month, and I was commuting an hour and a half to work and then an hour and a half back. The things we do for love, right? So we made it like Flex Seal covering a crack at the bottom of Hoover Dam. I don't think we ever should have qualified for that house, but you know what? I sure am glad we did. The house was a multifamily. That was one thing that we did right. So it had rental income potential. If that was included in my financial stuff for me to get that loan, I have no clue. I highly doubt it. The main house, it was able to supplement our mortgage. So we lived in the tiny house in the back, and then we rented out the bigger house, which is the main house. Um, we lived in this little tiny. It was like 500 square foot, if that. No washer, no dryer. Um, and it reeked really bad in there. The people that lived in it before us was they didn't like own it for rental or anything. They bought it and then sold it a year later. It was unoccupied, but man, whoever lived in there before did not clean. So it was definitely a big gut job, total gut job, right? this tiny little house, and it's just me and Sarah and our little rat terrier and three adopted cats. So yeah, we were house hacking, but little did we know the ride hadn't started yet. It was about to get real crazy for us. Later that year, the tenants that we rented to had clogged the septic system in the basement. We had a finished basement down there in the main house, and yeah, the sub pump was clogged by them. So I remember this day very well because I was had food poisoning, and it was just record rain that that day. It was just record rain. Um, yeah, and all of a sudden we get this frantic knock. I mean, frantic. The guy was like trying to break down on a door at 2 a.m. Because we were in the tiny house in the back of the main house. So he's knocking on the door. He's like, "Our house is flooding. Our house is flooding." Like he's like, "Man, I thought I peed my pants because the guy, his mattress, he doesn't have a box frame or anything like that. He just has a mattress on the floor, and there's a good 6 inches of water, and his bed was like literally floating, and he thought he peed his bed." But it turns out that the sub pump that these guys blocked flooded my house, and yeah, just caused all sorts of damage. Uh, thank God for family. They showed up with all sorts of materials and equipment to get all that water out of there, and we still had to rip all the carpet and padding up, and then get the drywall cut out. It was just really bad. Um, Not knowing that the dirt was in there in the sub pump at first was like working an uphill battle because it was raining super hard, and we're literally like pushing this water out of this basement, and it just kept coming in. But yeah, eventually we gutted all the walls. I think it was like a foot tall or something like that, and then we had this drainage system installed. It was pretty costly, especially for a new homeowner that is barely making ends meet. We lived paycheck to paycheck, and that was just a gut blow. But we stuck it out, and yeah, it just seemed like more money was just going down the drain. Just bear with me. I know this seems like a cautionary tale of investing in real estate, but it it's going to get better. I promise. So after the 2008 market crashed, like I said, our price just went way down. The Navy decided to send me off to another country to play detainee guard. So I was just, uh, that sucked. And they were like 15-month orders, so I was away for a while. Sarah decided to move in with her mom, so it sucked, but it was also good too. It was really good because it allowed us to kind of ride out the 2008 dilemma and get our finances situated, because now all of a sudden I was able to um, not worry about this mortgage because I was renting out the entire place, and Sarah was focused on her schooling and stuff like that. Um, we rolled up our sleeves and got to work financially, and getting back into it, right? So, yeah, blessing in disguise. Sucked at the time, but you know what? That really helped us out. You know, I tell you what. Sometimes the most roughest times in your life really define on how you are, and what what happened there. Living at payday to payday. That just cemented in my head. I do not want to ever do that ever again. And it was really hard on our relationship between Sarah and I. We were just at it. We didn't even like each other for a while. You know, even when I was leaving up to Guantanamo Bay, we were just like, "This is it." But you know what? Distance makes the heart fonder. So, uh, and we're still together. You know, back in 2008, and now it's 2022. So, yeah, we grew a lot closer together, and we moved back into the main house after I got back. It wasn't right away because we had to wait for the renters to come up on their contract, and so we were able to save up money, and then we fixed up the main house so we could rent out the basement while we cleaned up our finances. And when I say we, I mean me. um, Yeah, I found some consolidation company that helped me out, and they were helping me by calling up the lenders and getting a better deal on percentage rates, which I didn't even know you could even do that at the time, especially if you were past due and stuff. And then eventually, my buddy John, I worked with, he was like, "You ever hear of Dave Ramsey?" I'm like, "Who is Dave Ramsey?" Well, I'll tell you what, John. Thank you, because that guy and his Total Money Makeover, I listened to it, and then I listened to it again, and then I listened to it again. And I'm like, I need to just keep listening to it and soaking it in, and eventually I was on my way to getting my finances squared away. Um, Before this even happened, I had a timeshare, and there's a lot of other financial mistakes. The timeshare was pretty, pretty raw deal. So I eventually got it all paid off, but it was just it just sucked. So I think people like me, need Dave. I'm not saying everybody needs Dave. Some people have good habits already. I think everybody could learn just listening to Dave, but some people really need the Dave treatment. And um, yeah, I needed the remedial look at yourself in the mirror, follow baby step one, follow baby step two. All right, come on, Chris, you could do this, right? Baby steps. So, um, yeah. And, even today, I'm not 100% on his program because I don't think that debt is bad, but yeah. But I plan it out a lot more, and it's a lot more intentional. I intentionally do things now. So yes, I still buy things. It's just planned out, right? Um, I honestly think that the baby steps wasn't enough for Sarah and I, because we thought that we could do better. And I really do believe we're going to do a lot better by not following all the way through on the baby steps. And as we go on with this podcast venture, I'm hoping that you'll see the same thing too. Um, so eventually, we house hacked our way into another house, right? And I'll go into that story in another podcast and blog. I'll talk about that. And um, it was that house that we bought in 2008, or right before 2008 bubble. It is one of my biggest learning lessons, and I've learned a couple other lessons on top of that. But I would have to say it's my best worst decision I ever made, and that is, yeah, that's pretty much what I got on that. My my goal, all right. Sarah and I's goal. I'm retiring in hopefully 2024. Um, is to have that house paid off a couple years after, right? Uh, and then that'll be essentially a passive income for my family, until we decide to get rid of it. So, um, but what would have waited, or what would have happened if I waited to buy the house till the market dropped, right? Well, when the market dropped, when it finally hit bottom, I was in Guantanamo Bay. That would have been impossible to make a purchase there. It's not like today. Today is totally different. You could totally do it by Skype and phone. Then you're signing the contracts on your phone. But doing it in Guantanamo Bay, that would have been a totally different beast. Yeah, there's no way to look at the property and all that stuff. Facebook was just starting out then. For the kind of age that. So, yeah, just know that, yeah, not waiting was better for me. So, um, but today, yeah, I bought the house for 300,000, dropped down 100,000, and now it is well over double what I paid for it. So, um, it's done wonders for my net wealth. But yeah, and also it's taught me a lot. So don't wait. You know, just just do it. Find that investment that makes sense to you and do it. Owning this property not only allowed me to grow and mature, but also helped me help others that I cared about. Right. I was able to help my sister, who one point in time needed help. Since then, she's become a strong nurse mama in Texas, and now she's raising her um, incredibly intelligent son. You know, I was able to rent this house out, my smaller house. I was able to rent it out to a friend who just got out of the Marine Corps. Though it came with its own hardships with having to collect money from people that you're friends with, but it did help them out. You know, the house taught me that what it took to be a good landlord, and that means providing an excellent service to your renters. Right? It's it's not that they pay you; it's that you work for their payment. It's not a wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. Give me my money now because you're using my domicile. No, it's hey, how are you doing? Is there anything that's broken? What can I do to fix your plumbing, whatnot? You know, Taking care of them is the main thing that we do, and it pays off. My renters stick around. You know, like I said, don't wait to get out there and buy your first house. Get your first investment. If you're going to buy a house, I do recommend multifamily. It's, in my opinion, the best way for you to get some instant wealth building in the future, right? It's not going to be instant. And by no means is it, really providing me a major paycheck right now. It's not. It supplements my mortgage, and it allows us to um, plan for future investments, right? That's what it is. It's a future investment. It's not for today, it is for tomorrow. So, if I didn't start when I did, I would have lost out on a major passive income that would have benefit my family for generations. So, know your goals, chart your path to financial freedom. Remember, this is a call. I challenge you to take action instead of taking your life and living on the treadmill. Thank you for listening to Choose Fi. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and leave a suggestion or a comment, and I look forward to those. Also, go ahead and go to our blog, and that is at chartyourfi.com. And if you subscribe for our newsletter, we'll send you the net worth calculator, and it's also a budget too. So you can do your monthly and yearly budget in there. There's nothing more important than your budget to help you get to your goals. All right. Well, if you want to be a guest or anything like that, hit us up. And we look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. Take care.